welcome everybody to the Farmington Board of Selectmen's meeting for Tuesday, April 13th, 2021. Item number 1, Pledge Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you everybody for that. And moving along, item number 2 is to hold a public meeting on the secret ballot referendum to be held on Monday, April 26, 2021. And with that, I will open the public meeting. Richard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can everyone hear me? I want to welcome everybody this evening and any folks who are watching on the live stream. The purpose of this public hearing is to address any questions or concerns that folks might have about the proposed 2021 budget. And there are a few other items on the warrant as well that are not specifically budget items, but they're of a fairly routine nature that we deal with every year. What you have in front of you in the audience is the warrant, the town meeting warrant as it appears in the town report. Which is not, it's at the printers now, it hasn't been printed yet. However, it can be found on the town's website, www.farmington-maine.org. Under advisories and notices on the homepage is the full town report. And we will have that out in time for the referendum, which will be on Monday, April 26th. So again, this is a public hearing to go over the warrant articles. The paper warrant that you have in front of you differs a little bit from the actual referendum ballot, and that is because the ballot itself is 3 pages long and consists of the 42 articles. Therefore, there's not a lot of room on the ballot to provide a lot of notes of an explanatory nature. Therefore, you'll find those in the town report and in this version of the warrant that's in front of you. Now, again, as many of the articles are of a routine nature, I suspect that most of the interest this evening is in the budget itself. And I will start out by explaining that there are increases in the budget this year, and those increases amount to a total of 12.13%. Now, that sounds like a lot, and it's maybe shocking to some to hear that. However, the budget that was produced and adopted last year due to COVID was completely flat. It was a little bit less than the budget from the prior year, which by the governor's executive order, we were able to approve without a town meeting. The tax commitment was lower than the year before. In actuality, the mill rate went from 1998 to 1970 last year, which is a fairly substantial drop. You would have seen that reflected in your lower tax bills. So taking that into consideration, if you look at the 2-year average, the increase in this budget is certainly within a range that might be expected given the town's needs, increase in costs, and additional personnel costs, which can be explained by the individual department heads if there are questions. Now, while this budget is up, it really gives me a great deal of comfort to say that there is absolutely no reason for this budget to result in a tax increase this year. In fact, if the Board of Selectmen wished to, they could decrease the taxes again this year. And the reason for that is that despite the pandemic, our revenues, the town's revenues remain strong. We met our revenue targets. I expect them to be strong again this coming year. We actually added over $600,000 to our unassigned fund balance, which now stands at over $3 million. The auditors recommend, by generally accepted accounting practices, a fund balance that is approximately 2 months of expenditures, which would be about $1.9 million. Having said that, that means that when it comes time to do the tax commitment, generally in August, the selectmen have a great deal of flexibility as to appropriating funds to keep the mill rate down. In fact, if they wanted to, they could use $1 million from the fund balance to lower the property tax burden. I wouldn't recommend they do that, but it's something that they can take a look at in terms of, certainly appropriating enough funding to make up for the increase in the budget. And then we also expect substantial new valuation from the solar installation, which will certainly be adequate to negate the increase as well, along with a fund balance appropriation. This will be kind of a gap year in terms of the valuation for the solar farm, and in future years that will continue to smooth out the tax rate. So, having been here nearly 20 years, and many of you know this will be my last. This is my last year. I'm retiring in August, and I just will take just 1 second to thank the community for all your support over the years. I've tried to do a good job, and I think with this budget, you'll be pleased. And I'm very proud to say that we put together a budget that meets the needs of the community, the growing needs of a growing community, a strong community, and does so without placing an undue burden on the backs of the taxpayers. With that, I guess I'll open it up to any questions or comments from budget committee members who may want to speak, or I should actually defer to the Board of Selectmen first if you wish to speak. And we have department heads here who can explain their budget request. And we have the phone number is displayed on the live stream here if anyone wants to call in with any questions about the budget. But I think we stand ready to answer those questions that may arise, and I will open the floor to anyone who wants to speak.
Richard, I know we've had this publicized, but for the viewing audience and those here, could you explain what they're going to see for a difference in what would otherwise be a traditional town meeting, and how the referendum vote would actually show up on that day?
What you will see, and the warrant will be posted, I believe, tomorrow, Clyde. What you will see in the warrant is each question on the ballot will have a dollar amount that is listed for the budget for each department, each request, and you'll have an opportunity to vote yes or no on the amount that's presented. So it will be an up or down vote with no opportunity to offer some other amount. So once all the ballots are tabulated, we'll see if anything doesn't pass, then there'll be an opportunity to come back and re-vote at perhaps a special town meeting. But again, I'm hoping that the budget will pass as presented, because I think it is a good budget, and it does not put an undue burden on the taxpayers.
Thank you, Dick. Could you explain what would happen in the event that an item did get turned down by the voters? What would our procedure be then?
Well, there would be an opportunity to revote that, whatever that article is, at a special town meeting. The reason we're doing this by referendum vote, of course, is because of the 50-person limit. Generally, when we have the open town meeting, we have people up in the stands, and we have usually at least 120, 130 people here. So since we can't do that, we're having this take place at the ballot box, which you can space out the number of people, as we did in the presidential election, general election back in November. So it's safer to do that. So if there is an article that fails, what we would do is to probably reconvene the Budget Committee and the Board of Selectmen and come up with a different recommendation, and then we could hold a special town meeting. And the reason for that is that it's not likely that we would get a turnout of 100, over 50 people for a special town meeting. Generally, we only get a handful, maybe like what we have here tonight. That's not a true representation of the town, but people have the opportunity to come and vote, and that's what we would do. If there for some reason there were a huge turnout, we'd have to find an alternate way of doing it. Maybe, I don't know, meeting outdoors or something as the weather gets better. But that would be the route that we would take, would be a special town meeting.
I'm going to reserve my comment. Anybody for the budget committee have what to say? Yes.
I'd just like to say that the budget committee worked diligently looking at these figures from all the department heads. We asked a lot of questions, went back and forth a lot, and in the end, we felt that these department proposals were lean. They asked what they needed, absolutely needed, and given that it was so flat last year, we pretty much voted and gave them what they wanted. We felt it was fair, and of course, the public had the last say. Thank you all.
Does anyone here in the audience want to have anything they'd like to say or ask any questions or represent any of the articles? This is your opportunity.
Well, it's pretty quiet.
We do have, for the viewing audience, we do have, besides board, budget committee, town manager, department heads are also here, so if folks do have questions, now is the time to do that. We typically do that with a rousing debate at town meeting, but we don't want this to be a super spreader for trying to organize that during a COVID pandemic. So this is the opportunity if folks have them.
I guess my only remarks on the budget is when we first saw it, it's 12% looked double big. And then we got looking at it and started seeing the numbers behind it, and it's really not. It's, like I think everybody can agree here, it's a pretty lean budget. I mean, there aren't many extras in this, if any. Everything that's asked for is needed. And I think, fortunately for us, especially coming out of the pandemic, the town is in very good shape financially, and that definitely makes a lot of this easier. Yes.
I don't know where this question would come yet, but whether it plays into this budget, it probably does
You're right. I believe it's the American Recovery Act. We are projected, town of Farmington is projected to receive $773,000 in relief funds from the federal government. We, like all the other communities, are still waiting for some guidance on how that can be spent. A couple of the criteria I've seen are that it is to be used to replace lost revenue. Well, as I explained, we really have very little lost revenue. We had the excise tax was off for a month or 6 weeks while we were shut down mainly, but then it recovered very rapidly after we reopened. We really have not lost a lot of revenue. Other aspects of the funds are to be used for infrastructure and specifically water and wastewater, which is fine. We have plenty of needs in the wastewater, but they certainly, if we really looked around, we could probably find a place to spend all of that money in wastewater alone. But just because we're getting money, I'm not in favor of spending money just because we're getting it. We have, our needs are pretty well met. We're in pretty good shape with the wastewater or any of our other infrastructure with what we've been doing. So in answer to your question, I don't really know, Ed, what the guidance is going to be on those funds until we get firm guidance from the state or from the feds. This budget will be already adopted by that time, I'm sure, or some form of this budget. When those funds are received, they would perhaps allow us to do more work and would act as a supplement to the budgets that's been adopted.
So is it fair to say once you get that guidance, then you'll be thinking about a procedure to involve the public in ideas, public hearings after the budget committee, that kind of thing?
Yeah,
later in the year, maybe in the summer? Or?
Yeah, I would certainly think that would be appropriate, yes.
Okay. Sure,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Is there anything else?
I would like to take the opportunity. It's a bad habit. I would like to take the opportunity as well to thank the Budget Committee. They put a lot of time and energy into it, and we'd like to thank them for that. I spent several years on the Budget Committee, and you don't always get recognized, but just wanted to thank you for that.
Thank you.
And I'm not seeing anything. No, I think I'm going to close the public meeting. And with that, we don't need a vote or anything on this. Just move along.
You have met the statutory requirement to hold a public hearing prior to the vote, so you close the public hearing and move on to regular business.
All right. And with that, thank you, department heads. Appreciate it. And Budget Committee for coming up. Moving to item number 3, is to approve an expenditure of up to $10,000 for Parks and Rec vehicle equipment reserve account to purchase an outfit a state surplus 2014 F-150. Richard.
You have a memo in your packet from Matt Foster, and Matt is here this evening as well to explain this request. The Dodge pickup that the department has is it's a 2002, and it was handed down from the wastewater department, and it's in rough shape. It won't take a sticker. It's pretty well rusted out. So our mechanic has been to the state surplus to look at what they have available down there, and he's identified this 2014 Ford F-150 4x4 that's in pretty good shape. It's got some dents and scratches. I think it was a warden's vehicle. So the price is $8,500. He's asking for $10,000 in order to make those minor repairs and also to purchase plow gear for it, because he uses it to plow the yard here. And so up to $10,000. The reserve account has a balance of over $18,000 in it. So
Is there any, if we were to purchase this, what would we do with the other one? Does it have any resale value?
it may be, I think he's had someone express maybe offering $500 for it, which he's asking to go back into the equipment reserve account.
Yep.
That offer today, $3,000.
Well, take it.
Get that number. So, okay, that was one of the
Yeah.
questions for that.
So,
I make a motion we approve the expenditure of up to $10,000 for the purchase of the 2014 F-150.
I'll second.
Then a motion and a second to approve an expenditure of up to $10,000 from the Parks and Rec Vehicle Equipment Reserve Account to purchase an outfit, a state surplus 2014 F-150. Seeing no other questions or comments, we're ready for a vote.
Mr. Smith?
Yay.
Mr. Butler?
Yay.
Mr. Bob?
Yes.
Mr. Bell?
absent.
Mr. Landry?
Yes.
All right, thank you for that.
I would also like to address the second part, make a motion that we authorize the rec department to have any funds received to go back into their equipment reserve account. If they sell at 2002, we would like that money to be
Yep.
authorized to go back into the
Yep, that's
To the,
appropriate.
equipment reserve account.
Yep.
I'll second that.
All right, there's also been a motion and a second that any money coming in from the selling of the 2002 Dodge pickup will go back into the reserve account.
It's just the second part of that.
And
Yep.
questions, comments?
Yep.
Nope, sorry. Oh, go ahead, Scott. Oh, no, it's already been seconded. No, okay, sorry. Yeah, we're ready now.
Mr. Smith?
Yay.
Mr. Butler?
Yay.
Mr. Bob?
Yes.
Mr. Landry?
Yes.
All right, thank you for that. Thank you for catching that, Mike. Now, moving along to item number 4, the award the bid for cemetery mowing. Richard?
You have a bid tabulation in front of you, and the sole bidder, again this year, is Shane Bartlett, of Bartlett Builders. And you can see this 3-year contract. The cemeteries for this year, $13,000, and the Beyond Park and the traffic islands in that area are $3,000. So it's a total of $16,000 for this year, and the budget that we have set aside for this project is $18,100, so it's $2,100 below the budget. Mr. Bartlett, I've heard some compliments. I think he does a good job, and so I have no hesitation to recommend that we the town award the bid to Shane Bartlett for the cemetery. And these are the outlying cemeteries.
I'd make a motion that we award the bid for cemetery mowing to Bartlett Builders.
There's been a motion and a second to award the cemetery mowing bid to Bartlett Builders for the cemeteries, a 3-year total of $41,250. And the Buren Park traffic islands, $9,750. Yep.
Mr. Smith?
Yay.
Mr. Butler?
Yay.
Mr. Bob?
Yes.
Mr. Landry?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for that. And I also have had a couple compliments regarding that. All right, moving along, it's to item number 5, to postpone the special town meeting originally scheduled for May 11th, 2021.
The urgency for holding a special town meeting early in May is no longer there. And the reason for that is that we were under a time frame to approve the contract with the Amoresco, as you may recall, the solar company to purchase net energy credits that would have saved the town a lot of money on our electric bill. what I found out through our energy consultant is that the numbers that they gave us as far as the savings were based on some assumption of the town's usage that wasn't realistic. So what they were offering was certainly they weren't going to be able to deliver. So we're looking at another contract with, I believe it's Blue Sky, and this is this does not require a town meeting vote because it's not a 20-year agreement that's fixed. It's similar to any homeowner can sign up with any energy provider that you want, and will save you credits on the electric bill. Looks like we'll save maybe about 15% on the electric bill. So it still is worth it, a substantial savings, but because it doesn't require a town meeting vote, then that urgency no longer exists. We still have some zoning changes that are coming up, so we will require a special town meeting later, but I'm thinking perhaps in June or so. I can come back to you next month with a suggested date for those votes. The zoning board is still working on some amendments to the zoning ordinance, so if we have those finalized, then we could have the special town meeting. The other issue with that is that if something with the referendum should fail, that will give us a little more time, a little more better turnaround time than just 2 weeks to revote.
Okay.
So I can come back to you next month, probably with a suggested date. So I don't need a date now, just a vote to postpone it.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yep.
He doesn't need a motion, did he?
Yeah, we need a motion.
Oh, I'd like to make one.
You would. I'll accept that.
Yeah, I make a motion that we approve the postponement of the special town meeting originally scheduled for May 11th, 2021.
Been a motion and a second to postpone the special town meeting originally scheduled for May 11th, 2021. Yep.
Mr. Smith?
Yay.
Mr. Bucker?
Yay.
Mr. Fox?
Yes.
Mr. Landry? Yes.
All right, thank you for that. Moving to item number 6 is to select a contractor to conduct the town manager search. Richard?
You have in your packet 2 proposals, one from the Maine Municipal Association and one from Eaton Peabody Consultant Group. I contacted a third entity, Municipal Services, but they are out of New Hampshire, and they told me that they were too far away and they wouldn't be interested in submitting a proposal. Both of these entities have done a number of manager searches, as you can see from their resume. The cost of the services they provide are similar. The costs are similar as well, except that the Maine Municipal Association's fee would be $6,400. Eaton Peabody's fee is $6,000, and that's exclusive of advertisement costs, which we estimate will be, maybe $1,000, $1,500, and any other expenses incurred, such as mileage and meals, for expenses related to having candidates come to town. In talking with both of these entities, I know that the Maine Municipal Association is extremely busy with manager searches right now, and in fact, David Barrett asked me if I didn't want to delay my retirement further, and I told him no. So based on that, my recommendation is to have Eaton Peabody Consulting Group conduct the search. They're very well qualified. Don Garish is a former member himself, and he's offered to come up here. Obviously, he would do that, come and sit down with the board and discuss what you're looking for in a manager and how to proceed. So that is my recommendation, to have Eaton Peabody conduct the search.
I guess my first thought is I really don't, I think they're both equally qualified. It does make me nervous when there's now closed on what it's gonna cost us. You know, when they start, they can nickel and dime us to death. Not saying they would, but that's.
I budgeted for any contingency. I budgeted $10,000 for the search, so you shouldn't have to worry at all.
My concern with the Maine Municipal Association is they heavily relied upon and utilized, are very, very busy. And I think they're probably just a tad understaffed and overswamped. It would be very difficult for them to give you that personalized service, so to speak.
Right.
Whereas Eaton Peabody or any consulting group would be more apt to take on a client and put their efforts into that. So if I had to not by that, that's what I gotta say about that.
I think it goes without saying, I think probably both entities would do a good job.
I would concur with my colleagues. I'm familiar with both of them. I have a small bias towards MMA, having been on their executive council for a number of years and know the staff from personal services and labor relations more so than I do Eaton Peabody, which is certainly a quality firm, and their resume speaks for themselves. I did notice somebody else did that MMA's proposal for $6,400 is more inclusive, and Eaton Peabody's for $6,000 does not include reimbursement for direct expenses, not only printing, advertising, other reasonable expenses and whatnot. So it's a bit open-ended, but bid for bid, I would suspect it would be very, very close. I'm glad that MMA is indicating that they're very busy, because that's a good sign, because they are well respected on that.
But just for clarification, MMA's fee does not include advertising and candidate expenses either, if you look at the last paragraph of their proposal under fee. So I think the two, in terms of the scope of services, are pretty similar. In fact, Eaton Peabody's may be more involved in that they're offering even to draft an advertisement, the employment advertisement for review by the select board. I'm not sure if MMA does that.
So as I have for most years, I would tend to favor the manager's recommendation.
I'd make the motion that we go with Eaton Peabody to conduct that manager search.
I'll second that.
All right, been a motion and a second to go with Eaton Peabody. Again, I will reiterate that Steve said, I'm sorry that MMA is that busy, not that Eaton Peabody is second rate by any chance. Not at all. I know they're going to do a very good job for us. So. Any other questions, comments?
Mrs. Smith?
Yay.
Mr. Doctor?
Yay.
Mr. Ballot?
Yes.
Mr. Langford?
Thank you for that.
So thank you. What I would like to suggest is that the board schedule a special meeting and fairly soon to have Mr. Garris come up and start hashing out how you want to proceed.
Yeah.
So
I know my schedule's pretty open. I don't know how the rest of the board feels. I'll probably see when he's available. And
yep, maybe when he's available, I can email or call. I'm thinking maybe as early as next week.
Yep.
I have just over 4 months left, and that's going to go by very fast.
Yep. And it doesn't have to be a Tuesday, right?
I may not have read this close enough, but what they're going to do for us is find one candidate that they highly recommend, or you would have an interview committee that would, there might be 2 or 3, or are we looking at them to give us one and that's what we got?
Well, those are the details, I think, that you need to discuss with Mr. Garrish when he comes up as far as how you want to approach this. Some communities do like we did with the police chief search, have a group of community members involved in the interview process. What they will do probably is like we did with the chief search, is they'll gather however many resumes come in, and we hope there's a good number, and sort of, let you review them, weed down through them, and decide which candidates you want to interview. You narrow it down to 5 candidates or something like that, and choose from there. They will help facilitate the interview process.
It's pretty much the process we want, Mike. It's just a matter of sitting down and agreeing to it.
No, I agree fully. They're basically vetting these guys and then you're going.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect.
They will be good advisors to you.
No, I think, I know for me, if anybody has the major heartburn over it, it doesn't matter what day of the week either.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be just a Tuesday.
Okay, I'll see when I can get them up here, maybe I'll offer a few dates and we'll make it work. So,
Thank you.
sooner the better. Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
I will soon. Soon. All right, moving on to item number 7 is to approve the minutes of March 23rd, 2021.
Second.
Been a motion and a second to approve the minutes of March 23rd, 2021.
Mr. Smith?
Yay.
Mr. Butler?
Yay.
Mr. Fox?
Yes.
Mr. Landry?
All right, and moving on to item number 8, discuss other business. Richard?
Well, I just want to say, with 4 months left, this certainly isn't my last meeting, and I hope I'll have other opportunities. I know I will before I'm retired, to express my grateful appreciation for all the support that I've gotten from the Board of Selectmen over these many years and from the community. If there are any prospective managers out there, I know I'm not probably the person to talk to for a recommendation, but if I could, I would tell them this is one of the best communities in the state of Maine. I would highly recommend it, and I'm hoping that you will get a very well qualified manager to take my place. You always want someone to do a better job than you've done, and that's my hope for this community, because it certainly deserves it. And again, thank you all for your support over the years. I'm truly humbled by it, and I appreciate it very much.
Steve?
I have nothing other than to thank Richard, but I'm going to reserve any other comments or accolades to a different time.
Mike? Scott? Yep. And I'm going to say the same thing, with the exception of whoever does fill your shoes, they're going to follow it. So.
Second.
Been a motion and a second to adjourn. There will be no discussion.
Mr. Smith?
Yay.
Mr. Butler?
Yay.
Mr. Fox? Mr. Landry?
Thank you.